Hey Aaron, it's great to have you here. Hey Tracy, um, great to see you guys here live. Next question, this one's from Venla. And Venla is asking, is it possible to have PTSD from childhood trauma? I had a nice, normal, calm conversation with my landlady about cleaning, and she basically said that there are no cleaning shifts, but if you see something, deal with it. I immediately felt like I've let her down. I've lived here for 2 weeks and not vacuumed once, and had a massive internal overreaction. For background, I grew up with a single mom that was very unpredictable in her behavior. Sometimes she might just laugh, sometimes get mad about the same things. So I would cope by being hyper vigilant and always trying to please her, as I was terrified of getting angry. So I get my reaction, but it was so over the top. Having me in tears in my bed, feeling anxious, reducing me to a nervous wreck, and feeling like I'm the worst person in the whole universe. I don't know what or how to think about this. Any insights? So apologies, I'm rubbing my nose because I am under the weather. And no, I haven't been tested for COVID because they don't test people of my age group. So we have what we have. We take it from there. So Venla, we actually talked about this on the phone since you posted this, and but I wanted to include this into this session today because it's such a pertinent question to a lot of INFJs, INFPs. A lot of INF types do have post-traumatic stress from their childhood. We've had experiences where we feel like we haven't been accepted for who we are. We've always had to kind of try and manage around people, try to figure out what people need and then try to give it to them, like a lot of this passive aggressive kind of wounding. So I wanted to make sure that we are adding this here as well, even though I had already spoken with you, Venla. So my kind of insights around that is that you're right. It's coming from that kind of overreaction, is coming from not ever knowing what the correct reaction or the right thing was to do, when you were a child. So you basically, with having a mother that was inconsistent in the messaging of what was expected of you, has left you a lifelong scar of trying to of feeling like you're always failing people because you won't ever know. You won't. There's no way you can always know what people need or want, right? That's just a fact. There's no way you can do that. So with that, you have to have post-traumatic stress and probably even a disorder of that trauma because you are traumatized for life, and the fact that you recognized that this was happening, in the situation that you were having an overreaction to some mundane, simple interaction with your landlady, congratulations for recognizing that. That's such a big deal. Okay, so I just want to say, like, that's just amazing. Most people never do. We don't realize, we just know that we're not happy, but we don't realize why or what's triggering something or what's going on. So I just want to say well done on that. Now, the feeling bad piece. When you don't have clear parameters within which to kind of, as you're growing up, you don't have clear parameters within which to not even perform, but within which to relate to other people and exist. What happens is that you become unsure of who you are, of what your role is, of how you're supposed to be. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of young people are suffering from depression these days, is because they weren't given clear boundaries as children, clear and consistent and kind boundaries as children. So now they don't know what they should be doing. Too much freedom gives you too much confusion, unfortunately. And that's true for all of us INF types in particular. We are freedom-seeking beings, so that might sound a bit weird to you, but the thing about it is that if you have too much freedom, you don't have direction. And so if you don't impose boundaries on yourself about your own life, now you might feel like you're always just floating along and not sure what you're doing and where you're going and what you should be doing, and you might be procrastinating and so on. But my point is that you can, in these situations, or not even specifically in this situation, but in your life, you can set boundaries for yourself. So for example, there might not be cleaning, turns or shifts for cleaning, but you might go, you know what, I'm gonna give this apartment or this house once over every once a week or twice a week with the vacuum cleaner, and just do that and have that be done, so that I'm building that structure around myself. The house is staying nice and tidy, and so on. So you can actually be proactive and just decide for yourself what you're going to do on the short term. Now, obviously, there is a challenge with this approach, which is that you can become controlling of the situation. But from where you are right now, Venla, I would say to you that just choosing for yourself and being consistent with yourself is going to give you an awful lot of healing from this parental wound of inconsistency from your mother. So you can actually start on this healing journey, and in some weeks or months or whatever, when you've consistently vacuumed the place every, once a week or once every 10 days or once every 2 weeks, whatever, then what you might find is that you're able to start to relax that you'll see that nothing bad actually happened, and you might stretch it to 2 weeks. Now that might actually encourage other people to take out the vacuum and do something in the meantime. So let's just talk about it in terms of what you need. Right now, because your need, whilst we might think, okay, we don't want to control everything, but for now, you might actually need that consistency and control from yourself, that parenting from yourself, to say, I'm happy with this. This works for me. So that's what I would say to you, Venla. Just kind of understand that your landlady is not your mother, right? That's just a fact. And her reaction or non-reaction or words or anything like that are not the words of your mother. You don't have to react the same way as you did have to react with your mother. So it's, and I know you know that already intellectually, but start explaining that to your inner children, and eventually they'll get it, and they'll see that your landlady's behavior is not actually that behavior of your mother's. So making that differentiation, you might have to say to yourself 300 times a day, my landlady is not my mother. My landlady is not my mother. My landlady is not my mother. But that actually does help eventually. It's like it becomes a mantra and you begin to believe it. So those are the kind of insights that I would pass your way. I know we talked about it a bit more in depth already, but I hope that this is helpful. So anybody tuning in, is this helpful for you? Did this, talking about this kind of childhood PTSD, or even CPTSD complex, post-traumatic stress, was that helpful? Do you want more on that? Tell us, ask questions, and we can continue these conversations.